I saw this video asking why millennials have gotten so into endurance sports, running, cycling, triathlon. It seems like every millennial is doing one of those things right now. Obviously, I'm adding to that genre of content and to that stereotype. I've been thinking about why that is, and I wanted to share my theory on today's episode. I think there's a few reasons for it. And the first one requires a little bit of an explanation. So let me jump in with that. Millennials grew up being told that if you work really hard, if you get the best grades possible, you'll get into college. If you get into college and you do the same thing, you'll get a really good job. And if you work really hard at that job, you'll move up through your company, you'll get promotions, you'll get pay raises, and you'll have a good life. You'll be able to afford to buy a home, go on nice vacations every once in a while, build a little nest egg or a 401k. That'll all be based on this idea that if you put in X amount of work, you'll get Y result. And what many of us found is that just simply wasn't the case. It was during the education system, because the education system is built around input X, get Y result. Now, there are always going to be some anomalies, like you can't guarantee which college you'll get into. At the end of the day, that's out of your hands. But you can very heavily influence what grade you get via the amount of work you put in. If I study really hard, I'm going to get a better grade on the test than if I don't study at all. The hard work equals outcome formula is the heart of the working class. I'm still of this belief that if I outproduce everyone, the results will come. It's like this thing I can't shake, but that's just not how the world has worked for a lot of us. I think a lot of us are exposed to the fact that nepotism just isn't something for Hollywood actors. Or you should have train track. It's everywhere. Nepotism, favoritism, almost everything but a meritocracy. So you might be wondering, how does this connect to endurance sports? It's because endurance sports, for the most part, follow the same equation as the education system. I know that if I put in X amount of work on my triathlon training, I will get a better result. If I follow my Ironman training program to a T, get in every single workout, work really hard in each workout, I'm going to get a better time during my race than if I slack off and miss workouts and don't take the training seriously. If you were a millennial overachiever, type A personality, like yours truly, then endurance sports are a good outlet for you because they make sense. The second reason I think millennials are attracted to endurance sport, we are called the participation trophy generation. And we're often shamed for that fact, which I think is hilarious, because the older generation that we often hear saying that millennials want a participation trophy for everything. Who gave us the trophies? We didn't go out and buy them ourselves. We didn't create that system. We're still surprised that the generation who provided the trophies is the one that complains about it so much. That's actually beside the point. The point is, for a lot of our lives, we were given some sort of tangible marker for our effort. You didn't have to win to get that marker. It recognized the fact that you still worked hard. You signed up for whatever it was, Little League or soccer or something. You gave it your best shot, and you deserve to be recognized for that. It's the same thing in the education system again. What's a grade other than a visual representation that you did the work? Well, you turn into an adult and you find out that doesn't exist in the real world. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll get a promotion, a new title, a raise, or maybe, and this is probably more often the case, your reward for doing good work is just going to be more work. But not in endurance sports. If you show up, if you finish the race, whether you get first place or last place, you will receive a little token for your effort, a little adult participation trophy. And sure, if you win the race, you'll probably get a better trophy, just like the kids did when we were growing up. If you got first place, you probably got a different color trophy, or you got to go be on the all-star team or something. It's the same thing with endurance sports. If I finish the race, I get the little marker of my effort. And who doesn't like that? Napoleon said something to the extent that men will die for little pieces of ribbon, referring to the awards for military achievement. So is it really that surprising that millennials would turn to something that offers a little recognition for their effort? So the third reason I think millennials have gravitated towards endurance sports is because of the health system. A lot of us, myself included, have watched the older generation, our parents, end up with severe health issues. And many of those health issues have drained them financially. We've seen the healthcare system take their life savings, their 401k, their homes, to keep them alive. There's a great book called Nomadland. I don't remember the author's name off the top of my head, but they made a movie documentary about it, about how a lot of the boomer generation is entering the workforce again because they ended up with a health issue, they ended up divorced, they ended up with some other reason that they lost their nest egg that they had built up. My intent is not to beat up on this generation. Yeah, I give them a hard time because of the participation trophy thing. They're still our parents and our loved ones. And we've watched them lose everything because they came down with an illness or some form of hardship. And I think that's influenced a lot of people. I know the health thing is a big reason for me personally, switching purely from bodybuilding to endurance sports. Heart disease is the #1 killer of adults in America. I want to have a healthy heart. One of the best ways to do that is doing aerobic activity. I want to stay as healthy as I possibly can for as long as I can. I'm not trying to get political on this show. That's not what this is for. There's plenty of political commentary out there that you can follow that's better and more informed than me. Just discussing what I've seen personally, purely anecdotal. But if I've seen it, if I've seen the older generation suffer getting an illness, then maybe you have too. Maybe that's why you're watching a podcast about fitness. All right, the fourth reason, and I promise I'm not trying to be political here. I just think it's just something I've observed. I think the millennial generation and younger cares about the environment. Again, watch their parents in a horrible commute in and out of the city every day for 20 plus years, and they don't want that to be their life. There's no denying that cars and people in them have an effect on the environment. Just like how much trash is along our roadway. So I think there's this push among the younger generations to, at the very least, contribute less harm to the environment. And one way you can do that by riding a bike or walking or running to get to where you need to go. And in a world that feels like it's constantly on fire, and there's this overwhelming inability to put that fire out, sometimes a little thing like riding your bike or walking to work can feel like you're at least doing something in your control. I do think the interest in other modes of transportation, other than a car, is why I'm riding on this amazing bike path. I love Washington because they have these bike and pedestrian paths that go along the main roadways. They have bike lanes too, but they have these paths that are completely separated from the road. And these paths allow people like me to ride my bike safely from town to town in my area without having to worry about getting hit by a car, that make up almost 50 miles of safe transit area. Coming up on your left, morning, just saw a mom my age with her kids walking to school, using the same path as me. I love it. The last reason, and I'm probably going to get into this in a separate video, but I just want to touch on it really quick, is the gravitation away from physical labor to office jobs that has really started with the millennial generation, and it's likely going to be a theme for the following generation. If you were fortunate enough to get that nice job after graduating from college, you get to sit in a cozy office with heating or AC. After a few years, you start to realize your health is declining, posture is declining, your muscles have decreased in strength because you've spent 8 to 12 hours a day sitting at a desk in front of a screen. I think a lot of millennials have been looking for an escape. And we, as human beings, need to be out in nature. We need to be moving. That's what it's all about. So I think a lot of millennials miss that feeling, and they find it actually benefits their mental health and their ability to tolerate the time in front of the screen. If they have an activity like cycling or running, whatever endurance activity that requires them to get outside into nature. So that's it. That's my theory. If you agree or if you disagree, let me know in the comment. I'd love to have more discussion about this. This isn't me trying to impose my ideals on anyone. It's just something I've been thinking about. It's just my perspective. You can tell me it's completely wrong or off base. I like having dialogue about stuff like this. And if you agree, you can let me know in the comments. Or if you think I'm an idiot, you can let me know that too. It's fine. My hope is if anyone comments at all, it won't be a negative thing. It'll just be adding to the conversation and offering their viewpoint. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate those of you who have been watching this show I've been doing from the bike or on the trail. I enjoy doing it so much. And as long as people keep watching, I'll keep sharing. That's it for today. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again.